please stand? We'll begin with the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray for that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Samaras.
Here.
Councilor Belanger.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Councilor Leahy. Councilor Leary.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Rourke.
Here.
present.
Thank you. The first order of business is under the mayor's business, a communication from the school department. It's a memorandum regarding the facility space needs of modular classrooms for the next coming year in response to Councilor Leary's motion. Councilor Leary.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Appreciate the response regarding modulars. I guess just an offline conversation the city manager and I had. I guess you're going to meet, Mr. Manager, with the superintendent and his folks tomorrow to discuss what do they need and what type of city services will they really, going forward in the budget for next year. So I appreciate the quick response. I think the school committee will appreciate it as well. Thank you.
So it's pretty clear that from the memorandum that there will be no need for modular classrooms, which is some communities are buying some, and the cost of that has been tremendous. And last year, I think the school committee went out for bid, or the school department went out for bid, and it was going to be over $500,000. But I think a nearby community just purchased 12 of them for much more money than that.
No, and I think the key, and just to follow up with that, the key is to plan for it. If it had to be done, we'd want to know about it now so you could put it in the budget and they could go out for the proper bids. But I think getting that response timely now, and there's going to be having that meeting with the city manager tomorrow, and if there's anything that we need to do on this council side, bringing that as soon as possible is very proactive. And I appreciate you taking the time to reach out, and I appreciate, Mayor, you taking the time to reach out to the superintendent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. The chair would entertain a motion to accept accept the communication and place it on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under the city clerk, the minutes of the city council meeting of October 18th for acceptance. We have a motion to accept by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we'll skip ahead of public hearings. We have 3 public hearings this evening, but being before 7 o'clock, we'll go to communications from the city manager. And this evening, we have communications A through I. So we'll begin with the first one, which is the light sequence at the Rourke Bridge. Any discussion on that, Councilor Samaras?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I just want to thank the city manager for this report. It certainly does speak of a new bridge. But, Mr. Manager, could we have Mr. Bostonetto just give an idea to the public as to what steps have been taken and what he anticipates he might be able to do to try to ameliorate this problem?
Thank you. Yes, I've asked Mr. Bostonetto and Superintendent Taylor, because it does involve a police component on the Rourke Bridge, so they're both here to address what they're doing and what they're going to do in the future to try and alleviate the problems.
Is this on? Yeah, so the intersection at the Rourke Bridge and Pawtucket Boulevard has a advanced traffic control system with a video detection camera and a controller. And what I'm doing right now is I give the Rourke Bridge traffic coming over the river, I give them a maximum of 65 seconds to drain the bridge. However, as I spend almost a minute pulling traffic off the Rourke Bridge, traffic builds up on Pawtucket Boulevard coming from Pawtucketville. So those people, they have to wait almost 2 minutes for green light. So the maximum I'm giving the Rourke Bridge is 65 seconds right now, and then I switch over and I give the Pawtucketville people a maximum of about 50 seconds. And the camera, if it detects there's no more cars coming, it gaps out. It means it sees no more cars coming, so it cuts it short. The maximum is 65 seconds, but if there's no cars, it will cut it down and give somebody else green light. I could extend it more, but more green light for the Rourke Bridge, but that would mean everybody else would have to wait more. I could only give green light to one person at a time, one approach at a time. Another possible solution would be to redesign that intersection. Right now it's very wide. I could, it would cost a lot of money, but we could bring, as the Rourke Bridge comes out, it comes out into 2 lanes on the Pawtucket Boulevard. We could redesign the intersection to make those 2 lanes a little bit longer, narrow down Pawtucket Boulevard, and that would give more storage capacity, which would maybe help the intersection a little bit, but it would cost money. Chief will speak about.
Thank you. Thank you. Currently, we are using uniformed police officers to augment the traffic control signals and manually manipulate it at 2 locations, one of them being on the north side of the Rourke Bridge at the intersection of Pawtucket Boulevard. So in the afternoon during rush hour, there's a police officer there during the week that can manually control it and try and extend it past the 65 seconds if possible. And we do find that does alleviate some of the congestion. The other intersection that we are specifically concerned about, morning commute, is Pawtucket, the old Pawtucket Square, which is Pawtucket Street at School Street. And we find that's particularly problematic because of the congestion, the additional congestion that's generated by Broadway Street Bridge being closed. So a certain percentage of the traffic that would normally be on Broadway Street has been relocated up to School in Pawtucket. So the officer is there, likewise in the morning, manually manipulating those lights to see if we can push people heading in a southerly direction towards the highways at that point.
Thank you, Chief. Councilor Samaras.
No, I want to thank the chief and Mr. Bossinetto for the report, but I think it's important that the people of Pawtucketville and the Highlands know that the city administration is doing everything they can to try to resolve that issue. But I think we all know that we have to fight for a new bridge, and that's the direction. But thank you for that information. I think it's great.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Leary, then Councilor Elliott.
Just, I'll be quick. I know the Councilor Elliott and I just had a conversation with the chief offline, just basically that when there is a law enforcement officer there on the other side, on the Pawtucketville side, pulling people across, we do notice a difference where it's improved. And I'll let, Councilor Elliott's his motion to expand upon that. I liken it to, and it's not a detail police officer, it's a regular online police officer. So when there's a call or an issue, they've obviously got to be pulled away from it. I do liken it to what happens up at Cross Point. If you look at, there is a detailed cop there. You wouldn't get people out of that parking lot without having the detailed cop there. And the other side of the parking lot, over on Industrial Ave, you have a light. But on the side that has a detailed police officer there, you do have traffic moving through pretty effectively. It does bottleneck a little bit, but it is moving. So when I see it, and I think, it's a positive, I don't know how long we can do it. Obviously, we need another bridge or another solution to it, but it is apparently effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council Leary is right. We had a conversation with the chief, and when there is a uniformed police officer, the traffic is much lighter, or the traffic on the south side of the bridge is lighter. It's not gridlock. It's not backed up from one bridge to the next. So that being said, thank you for the report. What was also helpful is that there's $50,000 set aside from the charter school, one to make improvements on the south side and $25,000 for the north side. My concern or question is, the traffic engineer just alluded to creating wider lanes so traffic can be staged on the north side next to the Brunswick. I think that makes an awful lot of sense. And it's during the peak hours. It's between 3 and 5 or 3 and 5:30. And the longer that traffic sits there, the more congested all the way to Drum Hill and through the Highlands. So my question is, this money is set aside for a crosswalk. That's what the report says, a crosswalk on the north side. Why would we want to do that? First of all, it's 2 lanes of traffic.
Right.
To cross, actually 4 lanes of traffic, and any pedestrian access to the Riverwalk, there is, they can cross and go underneath. So, I'm presuming that's part of the order and conditions when the charter school released their
Yes.
permits. Does that make sense? I don't see much pedestrian traffic crossing the highway, and I think it's going to create more problems.
The only pedestrian crossing is at the bridge, at Rourke Bridge, so there's nowhere else to cross the river between School Street Bridge and Tingsboro. So anybody that wants to cross the bridge has to use the Rourke Bridge in that location. And right now, there's no crosswalk across Pawtucket Boulevard, and as you said, it is. During the phase where the traffic turns left onto the bridge, we could use that to a pedestrian phase to allow people, the more people get walking is, the less cars use the bridge. And, now with the charter school there, we would like to encourage kids. It's eventually going to go all the way to high school, so we would like to encourage kids to walk to school.
Well,
So
there
that's,
is crosswalks, right? There's crosswalks at the Dunkin' Donuts, there's crosswalk at Camelot Court, at Heritage Ice Cream, and then the O'Donnell Bridge.
yeah, those are very far apart. I mean, that's why we wanted to use some of that money to make improvements right there.
Okay.
And then also the charter school, they're committed to looking at the south side intersections at Princeton and at Middlesex. They're going to pay $25,000 to improve the signalized systems there. They're also going to monitor that signal every 6 months, starting when the school opened this August. Every 6 months, they're going to pay to have a traffic engineer go out there, analyze the intersection, and then make tweaks and improvements.
So, Nick, can some of that money be used to stage the lights from, not stage, what's the word, to time the lights from, all the way from the Rourke Bridge to Princeton Boulevard to Wood Street, because that's where it backs up.
Right,
I mean, traffic backs up all the way almost, to the water treatment plant in the morning, so
right.
maybe some of that can
Yes.
be used to time them, so there is a better traffic flow.
Yes,
Okay.
we're going to use that charter school money, and then MassDOT owns the signal at Princeton, so we're
Oh.
going to get everybody involved, use some of that money,
Okay.
and start the study and make improvements.
I think this is important. I think it's for the Highlands and Pawtuckaville and the rest of the city because it just backs up. So
Yes, sir.
thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Nick, because I appreciate the report and the update and the work. And thanks to you, Chief, for putting somebody here because I tell you, people give me feedback right off the bat that it is getting better. Whatever's being done is working. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on this? Could I just ask one question? You had mentioned that the lighting sequence going one way was 65 seconds, but if the camera saw no cars, it would shorten that. What does it shorten it to? Or is it-
So the camera, it doesn't record anybody. All the traffic cameras do not record. All they do is detect vehicles. So if there's, I set it to a 4-second gap because the cars do come over the bridge slowly. So if it doesn't see a car for 4 seconds, it says, okay, I'm switching the light to somebody else. So it's maximum of 65 seconds, and then it cuts it off when it sees no more cars.
So it could be even 20 seconds.
If there's no more cars coming for 4
Okay.
seconds, if it doesn't see a car in the approach for 4 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on item A? If not, we'll move on to item B, the Durkin Family Bridge Dedication. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me begin by thanking the administration for providing us with this report. And I know that Assistant City Manager McGovern has been working with Assistant City Manager, Public Works Commissioner Tom Belgard, and State Representative David Nangle. Everyone has been included in really putting together this initiative. And we do have a date, Saturday, November 5th at 10 a.m. for the dedication of the Lincoln Street Bridge for the Durkin family. So please put it on your calendars. And again, thank you to the administration. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Councilor. Any further discussion on item B? If not, we'll move on to item C, site management and vacant property on Chelmsford Street. Any discussion? Council Leary.
Just quickly, first, thank you for the quick report, and also thank you, Mr. Manager, and your department. I just spoke to Mr. Shanahan. He actually reached out to the property owner, and he promises to actually get it cut, get it cleaned, and as for, the delay, he had some issues that he was facing as well. So I thank you for the quick response, and thank you to the department, and thank you to the property owner. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? If not, we'll move on to item D, the Lowell Memorial Auditorium Structural Report. Any discussion on item D? If not, we'll move on to item E, rooming house inspections. Any discussion on rooming house inspections? Council Elliott.
Thank you for the response to this motion, Mr. Manager. I did learn something again, that rooming houses, boarding houses, they're licensed through the License Commission. When they are renewed, does the does the License Commission, or maybe moving forward in the future, can they receive a report or get a report on the status or violations or non-compliance with building health, sanitary codes? Because maybe some of them are in compliance, but in large part, and this is just my visual look at some of them, most of them are not. I did read that once they are renewed, there's an annual inspection, but I think we need to tighten up on them, just because of the condition and, that the way that they're kept, so.
Yes, I think that's a great idea as a condition of the renewal to have an inspection to make sure that it's in compliance with all the codes. I think is a great idea. We'll follow up with that.
Okay, and I think the, License Commission is doing a very good job, and if they know the information, that there are violations, then, that's the oversight, the check and balance, over these rooming houses and the owners, because otherwise, it'll go unnoticed and they'll continue to be in, poor condition, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to pedestrian crossing. Item F, any discussion on pedestrian crossing? Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is very important to me because I think the lights have to be, for people crossing, have to be a little bit longer. Now, I had a hard time crossing when I was going to the Gallagher Terminal for that coffee with a cop, and we were serving coffee for the people going in the trains and the people going to work and stuff. And I parked my car up the hill, walked across the street, and I'm not disabled yet, but I had a heck of a time crossing the street, and so I'm thinking about people with a walker and things. They need to revisit that. And as I was there, I met people that actually came across the street with a walker, and they told me about downtown and how on Central Street they had a hard time to cross because it's not giving them enough time. So there's a complete structure here as to what's going to happen. But let me ask you this, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Nick Bossinetto. It says here that Central Street at Merrimack Street will be addressed, and that's a good one, too. That's the one they were telling me about. But if you're on Central Street and heading into Merrimack Street, as of right now, you could take a right or left, but this is telling me that they will prohibit at that intersection a right-hand turn there. Is that what you're telling me through this memo? It says Central Street at Merrimack Street. Right turns from Central will be prohibited at this intersection so that pedestrians will have a protected crossing on the eastern side of the intersection for a full 16 seconds. Tell me what that means if I'm on Central Street. I can't take a right there now? Time?
Yes, ma'am. I did some traffic analysis at that intersection, and what happens is a very congested intersection. You have a lot of pedestrian traffic. Right now, as the green light is for people to turn, that's when the pedestrians are told to cross, and of course, that's a conflict.
That's right.
Also, what I found out was almost everybody's taking a left-hand turn, because if you're coming down Central Street and you want to go to Bridge Street, you just take Prescott. Or if you want to go to Kearny
right.
Square, you just
That's
take
right.
Prescott. So almost everybody, like 96% of the vehicles are making a left-hand turn.
And not a right-hand turn.
And not a right-hand, so-
So, and when do you think that might start?
I just put out the bid. I sent it to Michael Vaughn, our procurement officer, and he's going to be advertising it November 2nd. And we're going to get new signals here at Dutton Street. That's going to be fixed. At this intersection down here, you have to wait like 2.5 minutes for the pedestrians. That's going to be fixed. We're going to fix Central Street at Merrimack, Central Street at Butt. You're going to get a full, the pedestrians are going to have full access to the intersection. We're going to do, so that's coming up pretty quick.
Well, so this is a great comprehensive target of the three areas that are very important.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, if we drive cars, we're not in that position, but you got to think of the people that are and how they're crossing every day, and their life is in their hands. So
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you very much for addressing it. Thank you.
And at Gallagher Square, I'm going to give you an extra 4.5 seconds to cross the street.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I got to think about myself when I get older crossing these intersections. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on this? Council Leahy.
Thank you. Through you, if I could ask Nick a couple more questions.
Yes, sir.
So is there anything we can do with Bridge Street, Merrimack, and Prescott, because that is kind of the same thing. You can't cross there either without driving at you.
Right. With Prescott being one way, when they have the stoplight, you do have a pretty good crossing there. I'm kind of working. I'm trying to spread the money around, so I'm tackling 5 intersections right now. We're putting out an RFP for plans for some other intersection. But that one I am watching. The problem is there's so many cars. Bridge Street is so congested. The more time, it's like I said before, the more green time I give one person, the more green time I have to take away from other people. And it's the same with pedestrians. The more walk time I give a pedestrian, so it's a balance. And I'll look at that intersection again, though.
Okay, and to both, through you to the manager too, like especially at night, more or less the nighttime traffic, when we're coming down here, everybody across from Prescott, they block that intersection, the light turns green for Merrimack Street, you can't get across, and that seems to be a big tie-up too, and it's more or less just people trying to inch forward, and then, so if we can take a look at that too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? If not, we'll move on to item G, which is an update on Coelho Fuel. Any discussion?
No, just first of all,
Councilor Leary.
talk to Mr. Shanahan again. Thank you, Mr. Manager. And I appreciate you reaching out to the neighbors. I think from the conversations we had with Mr. Shanahan, that issue is at least better than it was before, and they're very appreciative of your involvement and your team's involvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager, was that parking lot supposed to be paved by now, though? I thought we were waiting, well, weren't we waiting for everything to settle down, I thought? And then, yeah, so when we had a Highlands neighborhood meeting, the talk was we were waiting for all the fill to settle and then get compacted. And then I thought it was my understanding that that was gonna be hot-topped.
That
But
was
it
the
doesn't-
original plan of the
Okay.
property owner. I think subsequently, the price was beyond what he was able to spend.
But right now, I mean, as Mr. Leary said, everything's good with the neighbors, it looks.
As of our last conversation with the main neighbor who's registered a series of complaints about this property, everything was okay. Sean Machado, who's our board enforcement agent, has been in regular contact with the neighbor. And our last conversation with her, she was pleased with what's happened so far.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Councilor Elliott.
Opportunity to reach out to former City Councilor Coffey, because he, as you know, he was down here and he was very concerned and he was with the neighbors. So giving him this update, I think particularly with the asphalt, he should know that, because I do see him, we all see him periodically, and he's still very interested on this.
Yes, I was actually at his house on Friday.
Oh, okay.
And we will be meeting with him next week here, so I will bring it up again, but he didn't express any concerns to me.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on
Just a
Councilor Leahy?
quick follow-up. I guess, regarding what Mr. Leahy's question was, regarding the hard top, is that something that, because of the price, is he going to be doing something different, or is he going to be leaving it as is? And that's something when we follow up, I guess and thank you, Mr. Leahy, for recalling the conversation. That's something I think we definitely need to follow up on, because it was something I think that they had articulated they were interested in doing, and something that the neighbors wanted as well. And it might not be cost, but is there another way or another mechanism of making that happen to resolve any potential issues would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy.
Could I just follow up with one quick question to the manager? When you do a parking lot that big now, do you have to have the impervious, so makes it,
That may be one of the reasons. We'll find out, but
Yeah.
the stormwater runoff
yeah,
is an
so if you
issue.
don't have stormwater runoff, you have to use the new hot top that lets the water go
So
through.
I'll find out, though. We'll find out exactly the status of the paving and
Okay,
what.
thank you.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to item H, which is handicap parking on Middle Street. Any discussion on item H?
Yes,
Councilor Mercy?
yes, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item H? If not, we'll move on to item I, which is informational, the zoning amendment. Mr. Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. You know, this is the first time that we've brought this forward in my administration. There's been a number of zoning issues that have been brought up, not only by the council, but by the different boards and departments that have seen different issues that we should be addressing as part of a full-scale zoning amendment. This is a proposed zoning amendments that I would ask be referred to the zoning subcommittee so we could give a complete presentation on what we're asking for. But in this zoning proposal are some of the issues relative to Airbnb, in-law apartments, unregistered vehicles being stored at a home. We're going to allow one to be stored for each year. For each property. So there are a number of issues that have presented not only by the City Council, but by our employees as to how we deal with zoning, and especially the new startup companies that are coming to Lowell, things like, craft breweries and other type of small businesses that we should be changing our zoning to attract them here. So I think I've gone through all of them with with Mr. Slagle and the DPD, and I think you're going to find them that they're very interesting. There's no, radical changes, believe me, and I just think it would be good to do a complete, full presentation at the zoning subcommittee and answer any questions there.
We have a motion by Council Rourke to refer item I to the zoning subcommittee, second by Council Milonazo. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. That concludes the communications from the city manager. The chair would entertain a motion to accept the communications and place them on file by Council Rourke, second by Maris. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication from the city manager to appoint Tammy DuBois to the Hunger Homeless Commission. We have a motion by Council Leary to approve, second by Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just 1 second. All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Go ahead, Tammy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to serve on this commission.
Thank you. Next, we have a communication from the city manager to appoint Suzanne Fischette to the Pollard Memorial Library Board of Trustees. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Milonazo, second by Council Samaras. Discussion, roll call.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott. Mayor Kennedy. Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Suzanne Fischette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to the council for allowing me to serve. I've been a patron and a Friends member for many years, and now I'm really happy that I can do more. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have votes from the city manager. Vote to transfer $48,000 from the cemetery special project general improvements to the Edson and West Lawn Cemetery. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading. Go to the second reading in order to transfer $48,000 in funds to allow the cemetery division to remove and grind and replace hazardous trees, engineering work, monument repairs, and service and building repairs, etc. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Harris.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott. Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
You want to be
9
recorded,
yeas.
Council Elliott.
All right, I'd like to be recorded, yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to accept the gift in the amount of $7,500 from the Digital Credit Union to the fire department. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading, which is basically to the DCU. It's not here. Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift of $7,500 for use by the city of Lowell Fire Department. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Mercia. Discussion, roll call.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Leary.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Being 7 o'clock, we'll go back to the public hearings. We have 3 public hearings this evening. The first public hearing is for a loan order. A loan order to borrow $500,000 to pay for costs of camera equipment for the police department and for the payment of any other costs incidental and related thereto. We'll open up the hearing for the proponents. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor?
Yes, Mayor, Superintendent Taylor. As I think we've provided to the City Council and the Public Safety Subcommittee before, I'd like to advocate that the City Council vote to approve this. This citywide security management system, the objective of this would be to improve public safety and officer safety by creating a multi-location wireless video network and camera system for the City of Lowell with the functionality to allow remote viewing of from off-site locations. The added ability of the Lowell Police Department to simultaneously monitor multiple locations throughout the city will support a more effective command and coverage of select areas by improving response time and efficient allocation of personnel and resources. The proposed video network would be achieved by enhancing an already existing citywide institutional data network, commonly referred to as INET, presently connecting a vast majority of the City of Lowell municipal buildings. Modifications would include network antenna and video camera installation at select locations, which would be selected based on analytical crime data and other factors did by the City of Lowell and the Lowell Police Department Crime Analysis and Research and Development sections. We already have the existing video management software in place, and as indicated, the City of Lowell has, in previous years, put a lot of infrastructure in place in terms of a wireless capability in this very building to the clock tower, and with the remote locations that I indicated, the INET. So much of the infrastructure is in place. This funding would allow us to purchase a total of 45 mobile and fixed camera locations with wireless connectivity into this already existing infrastructure. And I think it would be of great benefit to public safety. Not only public safety in the city, but this application would be able to be used for multiple city purposes. So, for example, traffic could be positively impacted by this. We could use these video systems we could use it for things such as rubbish disposal if we, identified locations where people are improperly disposing of trash, things like that, and also just general disorder issues in the neighborhood. They could all be positively impacted by this video surveillance system.
Thank you, Superintendent.
I brought also Detective Mark Trudell. He is the police department's management expert in terms of this stuff, and he can speak if you have any specific detailed questions about it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Pawtuckaville, Turning Park Road. I didn't prepare anything tonight, so I'm just going to speak right off the cuff. So there isn't something better we can do with this money, some sort of community outreach, perhaps. I understand the benefits to this. What worries me is the overreach of constant surveillance on the public. So there's this nifty book that I bought a bunch of copies of. That it's called 1984 by George Orwell. I have copies for all of you if you'd like it. It's a fun little rom-com, boy meets girl in a dystopian world where everything you say, everything you do, and everything you scrutinized. And sadly, it's not a how-to, it's a novel, but that seems to be the direction that everything has gone in. I know that I'm the crazy gun rights advocate. I think of myself more of a civil liberties advocate. I think that, yes, this could do good things, and it could certainly improve public safety. But in my mind, if we're trying to make it better for the kids, as it were, I don't see why we couldn't take these funds that they're proposing borrowing and doing some sort of outreach program for the kids in these at-risk neighborhoods. My second question, I'll kind of throw out there, these are fixed and mobile units? That's the proposal. So is this mobile unit going to be easily recognizable as a mobile recording audio and video unit? My point to that is if we roll that into a bad neighborhood where bad things are happening, we set it up, they're going to know it's there, they'll just move their business elsewhere. I think that reaching out to the kids, teaching them, guiding them that a life of crime is not necessarily the only way, even though you come from a bad neighborhood. I think that there seems to be a theme of, I won't say distrust, but where everyone's suspect. Everyone's suspect. So with that, I'll leave you. These are for you. You're very welcome. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Is there, you go, podium.
I think a lot of the outreach thing would be help a lot if we could involve the parents more. The parents are the first line of, getting involved, and you have to make them feel like they're part of the community. And a lot of the bad neighborhoods are Spanish, and they don't feel involved with City Hall at all. They're totally alienated in a lot of the bad neighborhoods. The Puerto Ricans and the Spanish people, and not just them, other people, other elements, they're involved in crime. So they follow their parents, their third generation, fourth generation transitional assistance. And it's a way of life, and we enable them by giving them welfare. So they see it as a way of life where they don't have to do anything when they grow up. And I think the first thing to do is the parents. You have to involve the parents. Excuse me. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, not to have the parents feel alienated. Like, City Hall is like a different world to them. They're on a different planet, Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition, opposition, opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the opponents and open up for the City Council. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did you want that lady's name and address for the record?
I think the city clerk's
Did you get it?
got it.
Okay. First off, let me say on this issue here that I value my privacy immensely. What I do in the comfort of my home, well, I won't exactly get into it, but we'll change the subject, but it is my home, and I don't want cameras in my home, and that's not what's going to happen here. We're talking about cameras outside in different areas for the public safety. And I know there's a letter to this evening that talks about, well, if the city council wants cameras so bad, let them put it in their neighborhood. And boy, I wish that you could come up to my neighborhood and put it there. I think that the people that are concerned about this issue, that it's a violation of their privacy, it's infringing on their quality of life. I don't know if they'd have the same attitude if their loved one, their wife or their child, their daughter, got hit over the head with a brick and robbed and left on the side of the road. I think they would be welcoming a camera to have viewed that, to see who the perpetrator was, and would pay the price of the harm that was inflicted on their loved one. Yesterday, I had the occasion with my daughter and I to be looking for that woman in Dracut, and the only comfort we got was through cameras to know where she was last seen at 2 in the morning, or she was over here at this particular time. That is the only hope that we had, that she was still alive. So when someone tells me I'm violating your privacy, if that camera was tuned into your house, yes, we are, but we're not. And if I have nothing to hide and you don't either, I'm welcoming that camera to make me feel safe in this very difficult and dangerous world that we live in, that people are out to get you no matter what. I welcome it, and I wish that it were more than just 45 cameras. I wish it was more than that, and I am supporting this.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Milonazo, there is not a motion on the floor at this point, but Councilor Milonazo, then Councilor Belanger, then Councilor Rourke, Councilor Samaras, then Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once there is a motion on the floor, I'd be happy to support the loan order. And if you'd like at this time, I'd be happy to move approval.
You want to move approval, and it has to be a clerk's office for a period of 20 days, so that has to be part of the motion.
Okay.
Do we have a second? Second by Councilor Mercy, Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you. Let me just say that the city of Revere, which is where I now spend my days, has been working on a program like this for a number of years, and I know that Chief Taylor is familiar with the Chief of Police in Revere. And I have to tell you, when you talk about the institutional loop, as we call it in Revere, where you have the schools all connected to this institutional loop. You have municipal buildings connected to the institutional loop. They're working now with the Housing Authority to connect our developments with this institutional loop. And I have to tell you, it is really incredible, the safety, if you will, that it does provide to the citizens, in this case in Revere, and obviously the citizens here in Lowell. And I think it's just another tool that this council has been talking about for the past year to really improve public safety. It'd be nice if we could get, I know Enterprise Bank has cameras on their building in the downtown, whether or not it's going to be tied into this institutional loop. And the fact that some of them will be stationary and some of them will not be. I mean, again, I've seen surveillance in the city of Revere. You don't know it's a camera. You don't know if it's a camera. So the gentleman that spoke against it, and I respect your opinion, again, they're not going to look at the camera and move along because it doesn't, trust me, it doesn't look like a camera. But at the end of the day, I think this is another tool that the city should move forward with. And like I said, I know that Chief Taylor knows the chief in Revere, and if there's any assistance or even a dialogue back and forth that they could have, it probably would be a good idea. And there are also other funding sources beyond what we're going to be appropriating tonight. But I know that the Department of Housing and Urban Development does have a grant on an annual basis up to $250,000 a year. So those agencies, again, like the police department, or more specifically the Lowell Housing Authority, might be able to supplement, or next year you might be expanding the program to look at funding another funding source, in this case at the federal level. But I do plan to support the loan order because I do think it's a comprehensive approach to public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through you, could I ask Mr. Trudell to come to the podium? $500,000 is a very tidy sum of money, so I have a few questions, Mr. Mayor, through you to Mr. Trudell. Can you inform this council and the viewers at home now on the technology of these cameras? Are we going to pinpoint license plates and identify faces well? Because I don't want to hear, if we make this investment, that the technology's not good enough to read faces, not good enough to read license plates. So I'd like to know, night vision, how's the technology on this investment for us, Mr. Trudell?
Mr. Counselor, the technology will be based on what the need is for that particular application. We have low-light, high-resolution cameras that work well at night. We have cameras that we could pinpoint and isolate or zoom in for cars if you want to identify license plates. We can actually fit any application that the need requires.
Okay, so they're diverse in that sense. Okay, well, that's good news, because I concur with a few of my colleagues that have spoken, and I think this is a great investment in public safety. I think it's a wise use of taxpayer money. I mean, the numbers, the great job that Superintendent Taylor's doing and the men and women in Lowell Police, the numbers are trending in the right direction. You are in one of the safest mid-sized cities in the Commonwealth, and this will only help that. And it's not just one-dimensional, these cameras. Some of them are mobile, a good number of them, but they don't just go to problem neighborhoods. Yes, they will be deployed there, but they can also be productive in vehicular incidents, a hit and run, say, so God forbid somebody gets hit and run in the middle of the night, maybe we'll find the vehicle and its driver. Trash dumping, which we've all had issues, we've all had complaints from constituents, whether it's First Street in Centerville, areas in South Lowell where dumping is prominent.
we can deploy a few cameras there. So I think these will serve the residents of Lowell very, very well. You know, and nobody wants to encroach on privacy. That's not what this is about. This is about reducing crime, trash dumping and whatnot. We're not talking about probing into people's living rooms here. That is not what we're trying to accomplish. So I think, again, this is a wise choice of taxpayer money. I support it, and I think you're going to continue to see crime go down and violent crime and incidents like this continue to decline in the city with instruments such as in technology like this. So we'll support the law and order. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But just a question for you, the manager or the Superintendent Taylor. About a year and a half ago, I know the council as a whole and manager's office, as well as the chief, had a number of complaints concerning Eagle Park in Centerville, correct?
Yes.
Yes, you're 100% correct.
And do you remember some of those complaints that were going on at the time, Mr. Manager?
Well, there was activity, you know, there was violent activity going on, drug dealing in the evening, and we installed the camera there, and the complaints have subsided incredibly.
Cameras similar to the ones that were in front of us
Yes.
tonight to vote on?
Yes.
And since the times of the camera implementation, would you say, or the chief, would say that the crime in that area has dramatically decreased?
No, it decreased, yes, it
I'm sorry,
has. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Again, you know, and this goes to the point of, you know, the chief stating many times that the tools that the council has given, you know, the police department has greatly assisted the men who do the great work of Lowell Police. So I think in a situation like that, it's proof positive of this law and order in front of us that will help the city, again, stay safe. And to the, you know, some of the ideas mentioned by my fellow councilors about the dumping and so forth, I think it's nothing but a great asset to the police department. So I look forward to supporting this. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Councilor Samaras, then Councilor Elliott, then
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. You know, I think as a council, every one of us has spoken about our concern about safety of our citizens. And as Councilor Mercy has stated, we don't want cameras in our homes, but cameras in public areas, public spaces, public buildings, I believe are an absolute necessity. I have to say, at Lowell High School, I think Chief Taylor could speak to how many cameras we put in Lowell High School, and we put many cameras with his advice in Lowell High School, in the high school. And I can speak very well for our student government and our students at Lowell High School. They wanted the cameras there. And quite often, if an incident happened, they would come into the various offices, the house masters or my own office, and say, we'd like to see the films in the camera. We'd like to see what went on. But it greatly reduced any problems at the high school. There were far fewer fights. You know, children have fights, but even with fighting, they just didn't do it because it would be on camera. It made Lowell High School a safer place. It made our students accountable, and it was supported by students. And I think Chief Taylor could speak on that on many times, how we used the film to really help students out when certain problems occurred. Chief Taylor?
Yeah, absolutely, Councilor. Currently, we have the capabilities to tap into the Lowell High School video surveillance system, and the actual officers responding to the scene can view certain areas, common areas in the school, for example, the cafeteria, if there was to be a disturbance there or some kind of critical incident, the officers can actually view that live video stream from their cruisers. And part of the funding for this will go to increase our capabilities in terms of the infrastructure and the video management system. So, for example, essentially the day is here where a bank will be able to provide us a live video stream as the officer is rolling up to a bank robbery. The officer will be safer because they'll be able to view the video from inside the bank before they go in. So those capabilities are already there, and part of this money will allow us to do that. The other consideration I'll just mention is increasingly in this digital age, juries and successful prosecutions depend on video evidence. We just had a case last weekend where there were a series of robberies, street-level robberies, focused on salons in the city, especially the back Central Street area. We were able to break that case very quickly because we got a very good video surveillance from one of the locations. We combined that with a social media platform, put that picture out there of the suspect, and within a couple of hours, using their surveillance video, our social media, we're able to identify the suspect. So that's really what people expect now, and this will enhance those capabilities.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras? Okay, thank you. Councilor Elliott?
I think this is a good idea, and I think we are in line with many other cities, not only across the Commonwealth, but across the nation and this world. And Chief, I was going to touch on something. You know, in this day and age, we have to use technology to benefit society, and this new technology does that. You know, London. Let me take a step back. If we did not have surveillance for the bombing at the Boston Marathon, who knows how long it would have taken to catch them. It was within hours that they released that video that the manhunt was on, and it was a week later, but they caught him. So I think video surveillance is the wave of the future, and it's not Big Brother. They're in public thoroughfares. The city of Boston has 400 of them in public thoroughfares, the highways and main streets. So I support this. I think it's important, as the chief mentioned, before cameras, and everybody has a camera. I mean, significance of the Boston Marathon was there were thousands of cameras. The FBI server crashed because they got so many leads. So, point being, police used to arrive to a scene and they have to look for witnesses. And before they had cameras and surveillance video. Now, that's the best witness that they have.
First thing we do now is look for cameras, private or business-mounted video surveillance systems are the first thing we look for when we get to a critical incident to make sure that we can capture and view that data.
So I think they're important. They're in T stations. They're in places where, those perpetrators prey on individuals who they, that they want to inflict harm or crime. So, London has 350 in London and 4 million throughout the country. And again, these are places where acts of terror happen. That's not happening here in the city of Lowell, but City of Worcester just did the same thing. We're in line with everybody else that are, taking this measure. I think it's a wise expenditure of funds. I don't disagree. We need to do more outreach to communities as well. But in the meantime, when we get calls and there are gunshots and there's criminal activity taking place in particular hotspots, we need to do something about it, and we're acting. So, I support this. I think is a very strong measure in the right direction in our effort to address the public safety issues in the city, and particularly with the guns and gunshots. And look forward to the results from this too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Leary.
No, thank you. Most of what I was going to say has already been said, but I support it as well. I look at it from a standpoint of what Councilor Rourke spoke about regarding Eagle Park. Councilor Elliott established, the Boston, the marathon. We would never have caught the folks that did that. I do appreciate, Randy, I don't know your last name, I apologize. I don't think you're a crazy gun owner. You're actually very thoughtful in your arguments. I just don't think this is Big Brother. I think this is something that technology we need to use to be effective. Insurance companies are using it, truck companies are using it, bus companies, the school buses that we have now in Lowell actually use this as well. And it's there to protect folks. It's there to be a benefit to people. I think obviously that, this council has looked at this, prior councils with Councilor Rourke's former motion in regards to different issues really leading up to where we are today. So it's been a thoughtful approach. I think it's something that's going to be of high value. I think the size of the city, this number of cameras probably makes sense. The fact that they're mobile and you can actually move them actually makes sense. You can articulate your position in different areas. We all talk about, the Centerville near the Rotary where there's like people dumping things all the time. You can utilize it in that area to be effective to determine who's doing that, if that continues to be a problem area. I think we do need to be careful, but I think doing the due diligence that the council did and the police department have done are very positive. I mean, you have trucks now driving throughout the United States with cameras. You can articulate or position who actually caused an accident. And that's not always good if you're the one causing it, but it is good to determine the facts, so it's not, it really takes a lot of that ambiguous nature right out of things and really pinpoints what actually occurred. So I'm definitely going to support it. I appreciate the due diligence involving it, and I do appreciate my George Orwell 1984 book that I haven't read since 1984. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Counselor Elliott.
Thank you, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I just had one other question or one other thought in response to Council Milanazzo. Bedford, they just established, let me get this right, a security camera registry. And Fairhaven just followed as well, where private homeowners can register their private surveillance systems with the police department so they can assist in solving any crimes or other cases. Is that something that you'll be looking to do in the future to allow? And it's strictly voluntary,
Right.
but it seems to be successful in these two communities. It's something that we may want to look
Certainly,
at.
I think that's a great idea. We could certainly look at that. Part of this software would be mostly for commercial applications, but people could allow us access to their video cameras. Sometimes people will have it outside, focused on a sidewalk or a street.
Right.
So that would definitely, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Belanger.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Leary.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next public hearing of the evening is from Lowell General Hospital requesting to amend their license for additional fuel storage at the facility located at 295 Varnum Avenue. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Does anyone wish to speak in favor?
City Manager, Mayor, Councilman, Councilwoman. Kevin Foley, I'm the Chief Engineer for Lowell General Hospital. And these amended licenses are just to correct information that's on the tax cards at the city clerk's office. There's no new capacity being built beyond what we already have permitted, and this is a way that the city clerk needs to update her records. So stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. We'll close the hearing for the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? 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 Hearing none. We'll close the hearing and open it up to the City Council. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Belanger.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Leary.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next public hearing is also for the Lowell General Hospital requesting to amend the license for additional fuel storage at the facility located on the Saints campus at 122 Stackpole Street, 2 Hospital Drive, and 12 Bartlett Street. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
So, again, same issue here, just updating the tax cards, and there's no new capacity beyond what we have today.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. We'll close the hearing for the proponents. Open up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? 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 Hearing none. We'll close the hearing and open it up to the City Council. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion approved by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Belanger.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy. Counselor Leary.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
That concludes the public hearings for this evening, so we'll return to the agenda. Item 5.3, authorizing the city manager to enter into to execute a license agreement at 10 Cardinal O'Connell Parkway. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Long Tran doing business as the Via Thai Express to encroach City of Lowell property at 10 Cardinal O'Connell Parkway in Lowell, Mass. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Councilor Baruch, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Belanger.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy. Counselor Leary.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have an order from the city manager requesting a 60-day trial at various locations. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, go to the second reading. Pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances in the City of Lowell, Massachusetts concerning Section 266-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experiment Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations, are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Do we have a motion to approve by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Rourke? Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy. Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, under subcommittee reports, we have a report on the Downtown Redevelopment Subcommittee of October 25th, 2016, earlier today. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Downtown Redevelopment Subcommittee met this evening at 5:30. We were reviewing a motion by Council Elliott, which stated City Council requests City Manager look into There's a Better Way program to help address panhandling homelessness issues in the city. Members of the subcommittee included myself, Council Leahy, and Council Rourke. Also in attendance, we had Council Mercier, Council Leary, Council Samaras, Council Elliott, Council Belanger, and I know that the mayor stepped in for a few minutes as well. So most of the city council were in attendance this evening. We had City Manager Murphy along with Rodney Conley, Michael Carlson from the Law Department, and Ashley Hilson, a UMass Lowell research assistant, who actually did, with Rodney Conley, the bulk of the presentation this evening. And simply put, Council Elliott came upon a program in Albuquerque, New Mexico, dealing with There's a Better Way program. And the city, through this homeless commission, as well as the administration, actually researched that program and put together what the subcommittee thinks is a very good program for the city. It actually takes 3 of the 4 components of the Albuquerque program and actually institutes it here in the city. It's actually called Use Your Change for Change, and basically it's going to be an educational program or an awareness program, beginning with targeting groups about what's going on in the downtown area as it relates to panhandling and homelessness issues. It also has to do with making sure that we educate the public, including some advertisement and so forth, and the city manager and the council has agreed to actually do an awareness campaign to get the word out that this is what we'd like to do as well. We're also looking at actually converting some old parking meters so that people can actually, instead of giving their change to panhandlers, actually give their change through the parking meter and actually have those funds go to community service programs, looking at developing a continuum of care outreach program. We had someone here from the Career Center talking about how we can actually come up with some jobs to help some of the homeless folks in the downtown area actually get either full or part-time work. Overall, it's a very comprehensive approach to deal with a problem that we've been all dealing with for the past 3 or 4 years, and I do think that the fact that of the components, if you will, of the Albuquerque program here in Lowell just makes all kinds of sense for us to move forward. So there was a motion by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Leahy, that we recommend to the full council this evening to request the city manager or the city administration begin to implement the program as was presented this evening. And again, I want to congratulate Ashley Hilson and the team for putting together the public awareness program, and I think that this comprehensive approach will go a long way to dealing with the panhandling and the homelessness issue. And again, we're not a community that doesn't want to help, and I think this is the type of program that will actually do that, provide not only some needed funding, but also provide additional resources in partnership with, again, the Career Center and other nonprofits dealing with community teamwork comes to mind, dealing with this homelessness and panhandling. That's a recommendation of the subcommittee that the full city council request the city manager begin implementation of this new program.
So would you like to put that forward as a motion?
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Okay,
Thank you.
second by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. I'm sorry, Council Lee.
No, I just wanted to add that the subcommittee meeting was very well-run, and the report by Ashley Hilson and the manager's team was very well thought out, very comprehensive, and it's everything that we've talked about. You know, we're trying to help people, not hurt people. So this plan goes a long way for the city. It helps everybody out. And wanted to thank the manager and his team for the report. It was very well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The chair also entertain a motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Milonazo and by Councilor Mercia. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next three items on the agenda from the wire inspector and their request from National Grid. The chair will entertain a motion to accept all three, bundle them together, and approve all three. We have a motion by Councilor Leahy. I'm sorry.
If they'd be out of the Glenwood Street one.
Okay.
Is that where we are?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilor Leary, second by Councilor Mercia. And I'll just read them quickly. One is to install a conduit on William Street. One is to relay and replace cast iron main in the sidewalk on 6th Street between the intersection of Reed and Myrtle Street. And the third one is to relay and replace cast iron main with a 4-inch plastic main on Glenwood between Wentworth and Douglas Road. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Councilor Mercia.
what are we going to do about Glenwood Street with the trees, the juniper trees? The linden trees, I'm sorry.
Mr.
We
Manager?
know what we're going to do, because you heard the passion that the people spoke about those beautiful trees.
Right, and last week there was a neighborhood meeting with the representatives from National Grid. Assistant City Manager McGovern attended that meeting, and the main is going to go right down the middle of the street, so it's not going to
Oh,
affect
that's
the tree.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
And they're going to have an arborist on hand also
That's
to
what
guarantee
we
that.
want. That's what we want for them, yes. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda under petitions is a petition from National Grid requests permission to install a pole on the east side of the intersection of Lawrence and Andrews Street near 706 Lawrence Street. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and public hearing for November 8th, 2016 at 7 p.m. We have a motion to that effect by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have two motions under the City Council portion of the agenda. The first is from Councilor Mercia, requests the City Manager of the Proper Department replace a portion of the curbing in front of 154 Upham Street. Seconded by Councilor Leary. Councilor Mercia.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Although the motion does speak for itself, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, I was wrong. We don't need a berm there. We actually need a curbing. The street sweeper went by and chipped off a big portion of it. Probably was loose to begin with. So it is actually a curbing. So if we could just cut out a certain piece and put in a whole square section, not very much, but take a look at it. Those people's property is meticulous. It's really, they deserve to have it nice. And through no fault of their own, it broke, so we could repair what we damaged. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Samaras and Councilor Leary. Request that the city manager provide a report regarding a plan to increase the number of parking garage spaces in the city. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Mr. Manager, the new garage for the Hamilton Canal will be a capacity upon its completion. I think we all know that. With that in mind, I'd like to see a report that would outline your thoughts and your administration's thoughts on how we can develop new spaces or garages, what your plans are to deal with this issue, which is troublesome at this point also.
Councilor Leary.
Exactly what he said. Very articulate, and I support that. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? All opposed? So voted. That concludes the regular agenda, except for Mr. Manager.
Yes, I just wanted to announce to everybody watching, next Monday is Halloween, and trick-or-treating will occur in Lowell from 6 to 8 p.m. on Monday evening, Halloween, the traditional day for Halloween trick-or-treating.
Any additional announcements? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind my colleagues that this Thursday evening, October 27th at 110 Canal Street, will be the next canal visioning session. So I will invite the public to attend between Fred Faust and Paul Marion and the Lowell Heritage Partnership. They're doing a very good job working with the administration, and I just think it's going to be a good meeting to bring this project forward. So that's this Thursday at, from 6 to 8.
Thank you, Council Mercia.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. Saturday, the 29th, we'll have a dedication to John Lord at the Shed Park Pavilion at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then at 11, there'll be a ribbon cutting for the African Community Center at 155 Merrimack Street. And then the very next day on Sunday, Councilor Elliott's motion to have a dedication to Ray Willett and Al Hebert at Acropolis Road. That'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning on the 30th, Sunday, October 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any additional announcements? If not, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned.